internet! Hello, you lovelies! It's been a long time. I went from hearing that like every 2 weeks, multiple times, to now we're filming this but once a month, so there's large gaps in my hearing that beautiful sound. I just revealed I don't, in fact, go back home and listen to myself on Koicast. That'd be weird. I'm Coy Jandro. I'm a Bostonian who loves pop culture, comic books, and many people, most people even, not all people, but many, most. Included in that list of people I love is the great, the wonderful, the ever-talented, the setting things up, so I wanted to make sure he was back on the mic, and he just sat down. Jake Lloyd Bacon.
Oh, so what you're saying is you only said I was talented because I was temporarily away from the mic?
No, I was going to say...
No, you admitted...
I was like, only because he's away from the mic.
Bullshitting all the way.
I was just building time. You got a more dramatic entrance. You're welcome.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Coy. We forgot to put on the little clocky clock on the TV.
We did. I luckily knew my name.
Right.
Frankly, I get lost.
I'm gonna have to go grab the USB stick that has it on it because it's not gonna happen.
It's weird to have a dark screen there.
It's not gonna happen.
It's okay. Well, the next episode, they'll know the authenticity.
It's too bad we do this live in front of an audience of hundreds of people.
They're upset
because I can't stop.
They're
we can't
concerned.
Pause. We can't stop.
It's like that WonderCon panel. We just threw our picture up on the left there.
We just have.
They were so confused. Remember that?
Yeah.
WonderCon's coming up, but I love that at WonderCon they were like, "Wait, you've got pictures?" And we were like, "Yeah, it's a podcast."
I'm really bummed because WonderCon is just not in the cards this year because of all the travel that I'm doing for my birthday and for my cousin's wedding at the end of this month, which we'll talk about a little bit later. We're going to try to do the best we can to keep the schedule. We should have no problem keeping the main feed podcast schedule.
Yeah, we're going to double down at some point.
We'll make sure that there's always something every 2 weeks in the main feed, but we're going to have to switch something up for the POP, maybe do something a little special for you patrons.
Something we've never done.
Yeah, we're going to do something special to make up for a couple of the weeks because I got a lot of traveling come up, which also, it just means that WonderCon is just not happening.
I'm going to...
It's a bummer because I like that one because it's
nice.
Just easy.
It is down the street.
It's just really
easy. Like right there. It feels authentic. It feels like a Comic Con.
Yeah.
I'm going to Fan Expo in Florida at the end of March.
Fexpo?
So while you're traveling, I'm Fexpoing.
Where's that at? Is that in Phoenix?
It's MegaCon. No. It's Florida, Orlando.
Oh.
It's a chain of them. Fan Expo does like 20 a year. They're great.
So you're going you're going to MegaCon.
I'm going to MegaCon.
Yeah, that was like my go-to Florida con
for
the longest time.
It's my first MegaCon.
That was where we used to do all of the big VA boarding meetups.
Yeah.
Where there would be like 100 people all dressed like movies employees.
Love that.
Yeah, that was MegaCon was a very special con for me in those years.
Do you know what movie fights is?
No.
I got reached out to they want me to do a movie fights, and I don't know what that is, but I got to do some research. Something with movies. Like I'm assuming Kevin Smith's movies as movie fight type thing, but tune in, folks.
Movie
fights. I'm
Are you sure they're not just gonna like put you in like
maybe I'll box as a
cow suit? Yeah, they're gonna put you in like a silly
Kevin's
cow suit.
Me and the same weight right now. Kevin's at $180. I'm at $176.
Wow.
Me and Kevin weigh the same. So I mean, I'm not going to fight a 50-year-old, but if we're in the same weight class, that's
so now he's ageist.
Now you hear it, folks. I couldn't fight Kevin. I love him.
I'm 40.
I wouldn't fight
2 weeks from right now, listeners. I will be 40.
That's bananas.
I would fight a 50. It's only 10 years.
Well, it's 15 for me. It's 16 for me. I'm 34. 16 years is a long time. When I was driving, they were 5. It's a long time. I don't like that math. Either way,
you can't compare age to when you were a child ever, because that's never going to work out.
At 21, I wouldn't want to fight a 37-year-old. They got wisdom.
But that's because those two people are vastly different ages.
21 is an adult.
But you're an adult now.
Right.
And a 50-year-old is an adult now. So what you're telling me, if a 50-year-old dude came up and started saying some bigoted, racist shit to people,
I'd fight, was like, but that's not. I'm saying I love him. If a bad 50-year-old, I'm not gonna age discriminate. If someone's a dick, they're a dick. As long as they're over 18.
So you wouldn't respectfully fight a 50-year-old.
Exactly my point. I wouldn't, in a way that was organized and with structure, fight a 50-year-old. I will fight any racist over 18 and under 95. At 96, I feel like I'd just break him. But anywhere in that range, I'm in. Right, Campfire? He's with me. We'll fight bigots together, me and Campfire.
Yeah, he has no problems fighting you. You're significantly older than him.
That's true. That's real. But like, would you fight if you're turning 40, would you fight a 56-year-old in an organized battle?
I mean, no, but not because they're old, just because I would be afraid of getting hurt. Because I am past the point.
That's honest.
Past the point of fighting with intent. If something happens and I got to throw down, I'm okay with that. If shit happens out there, but I am at this age, I don't have health insurance. Okay. I am not going to be like, yeah, you know what?
This is working out for me.
Yeah.
I haven't sparred in like 2 years, and it definitely was different than when I sparred like 5 years ago. So I can't quantify what it's going to be like now. But anyway, movie fights. Also, MegaCon is at the end of March. So while Jake is traveling, I'll be traveling as well. But it's really cool. Like, I've never done a MegaCon. I've worked with Fan Expo before, and I'm hoping to work with them a bunch this year. But I love that MegaCon feels like it's a 4-day event. Like, it feels huge. I don't know, but it feels like the East Coast version of San Diego Comic-Con, where it's just this momentous thing. They just got like the talent roster is crazy because they're doing like the original Screamcast is going. They've got like big full-size panels. I'm trying to do John Bernthal's panel because I love that man. But the talent is crazy. And Vincent D'Onofrio is going. I'm like, if I can get a picture with Punisher and Kingpin, I'm gonna lose my goddamn mind. But before all of that happens, we did an episode where we predicted what we wanted James Gunn to say was the slate. And then we went off for, the month. And we haven't actually gotten to talk about that. Also, Ant-Man has come out. Tom K. Ant-Man has been released in theaters. I've seen it. Jake hasn't. And you've heard me talk about it ad nauseum. But I do want to talk about the impact of it with Jake because he's on the internet.
I am on the internet. Yeah, I've avoided mostly everything. We planned to go see it. We wanted, but the with all of the rain and stuff and some work, the rain has affected some work stuff being flipped around.
People from not LA, rain affects us different because there's no infrastructure. I know you're going to be like, whoa,
also, this
rain?
isn't normal rain though.
This isn't.
No, this is like major flooding. We've
Cars stuck everywhere.
Yeah, we've been on a flood watch. This isn't. Don't get me wrong. When it normally rains,
still bad.
We all bitch and moan, and in those instances, you can go suck it up.
Yeah, but this is not that.
This is the next version of that. We have down trees everywhere. We have people. We have like there's like 1 million people without power in Los Angeles right now.
It's like a nor'easter kid.
Yeah, it's rough right now. And so, anyways, we did not get out to the Ant-Man.
The Ant-Man. It's fine. It's
Ant-Man and Wasp.
Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania. Now it's just a Taika film. But I'm very curious your thoughts because it's the first time, and that's kind of what I want to talk about. I know you hit Marvel fatigue about a year ago now.
I hit Marvel fatigue like after
as soon as we started doing this podcast.
Well, just like kind of like after they wrapped up this beautiful story they've been telling for 10 years.
Yeah,
and then things didn't quite feel right.
Sure. I think mine. I hit like pop culture fatigue last year, and that more was like a manifestation of rage and frustration with internet culture.
Right.
But I think Ant-Man was perhaps my Marvel fatigue in a way that I always said I wouldn't get because of the different genres, the different feelings. I always felt like Marvel movies were such events that it wasn't fatigue. It was a diverse enough style that I wouldn't get bored of it. And Ant-Man really showed me that like I think it doesn't feel special because of 1, abundance, but 2, because I don't know if I'm the market anymore, and 3, if they don't trust me. And that's the first movie where I've been like, okay, so this is if it was one of those things, which I've had with other Marvel films,
right,
I can handle it. But since all 3 came at me at once, I was like very concerned, and juxtaposing that with the very bold DC announcement, which feels like the opposite. It feels very like, we trust you. We're going to go weird. We're going to like make some bold swings. Ant-Man's been a really interesting thing for me to dive into because I love Kang and I love Jonathan Majors, but it isn't that special in that it's a week later and I'm like, okay, I've talked about Ant-Man. Like, this doesn't feel like a Marvel film. It like just is a movie that came out.
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm hearing. I'm hearing very much like it's cool, but who cares?
And that feels
that's
weird.
Sort of what I'm hearing now. I don't know. I am I'm reserving all judgment at this point.
And that's better.
I've had a few things. I say I haven't seen anything. That's a lie. I did have one thing spoiled for me. I had a character that was told to me I didn't know was in the movie. That was in the movie.
Sure.
And then when I complained about that, they went like, it was in the trailer. And I was like, well, that makes sense. I didn't watch the trailer. But I'm hearing that it's very much just like an underwhelming thing. I think that might be, like I said, it might just be fatigue at this point.
The drop off is bigger than Batman versus Superman.
The week to week drop off.
Yeah. So from frame 1 to frame 2, it's not uncommon to have like a 40-50% drop off because everyone goes see it opening weekend, and then the people that couldn't make it, and then the repeat viewers. But still, like, when you see 40 to 50%, you're like, that's a substantial amount of money. But also, like, that makes sense. it had a 72% drop off last I checked.
Wow.
Which, like, the numbers were getting finalized, but that's like BVS had a 67%, and Warner Brothers started recalibrating their entire universe because of it. So if this is a 72, it's not a coincidence that Kevin Feige got ahead of this on like Wednesday or Thursday before release and was like, all right, we're going to slow down production on shows. We're going to move Marvels to November. Like, he was very smart in going, we hear you, we're listening. Marvel fans always come first. I really like how he's handling it, but I would never have expected a Marvel film to drop 72%, like, ever, or at least not like in this decade. Like, it feels like, holy crap, this is a bigger. I was worried I was the only one that didn't like it. And then the 72 thing came out and I was like, okay.
Right.
Because the audience score is twice the critic score.
Right.
So I thought, like, maybe I'm just old and cynical.
But that's also how that's how most of that is.
Except Eternals and anything with men of color or women at all.
Oh, but that's not a real audience score.
But the audience scores, like, they get, that's what you can.
That's like a spammed.
But that's what you can mutilate.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. I guess
so. I'm surprised, you know, this has women in it. They don't like them.
Yeah.
Got 2 of them.
Wait, really?
I know.
That's 4 ovaries.
And Janet makes 6 ovaries, and frankly, that's too many ovaries by 6. But it's a black man has power in it. But it's been a really interesting thing to see what shift affects me versus the macro versus the culture. I'm shocked by Ant-Man of all things, the thing to kick off Phase 5 feeling the most neutral. Because if anything, like, your kickoff and your endings need to be something. I honestly thought Phase 4 was supposed to be longer, and then they saw all the bad press and were like, it's actually ending here, because there was no Avengers film, there was no big event film ending it. Wakanda Forever was a beautiful commentary on mourning, but it didn't feel like the end of anything.
Yeah.
So I thought
that was my problem with Wakanda Forever, is that I wanted like I feel like it failed at the impossible task of making a movie that breaks the fourth wall and honors a human being in our reality.
And a fictional character.
While also having to feed the machine to be like, wait till what happens next, you guys.
Yeah.
And it was like, the fact that, like, Ironheart was even in that movie is like a fever dream, because it's so bad.
What blew my mind, and it actually is something, because you've talked about Ironheart a lot with that being a big, you know, issue you had.
Yeah.
I saw her screen test, and it was with Chadwick Boseman, and it made my brain go, because
what could have been,
because that's how it felt by the way it had to be.
Right.
But to see her next to him made my brain go, like, it feels like we lost Chadwick like a decade ago.
Sure.
So seeing her as a child be like, what is this? So, like, my brain is now even more confused about how I feel about that movie, because I'm like, what could have been?
Yeah, no, it didn't hit me in the gut the way that it hit everybody else in the gut. I just feel like that's kind of been, that right there has kind of been the Marvel experience for me, with the few exceptions of really, like, Shang-Chi
and No Way Home really got me.
For me, it was Shang-Chi and Love and Thunder, which you didn't feel, but I just feel like there were the magic that I've felt for so many years with Marvel, I feel like was still in those projects.
Sure.
Whereas in some of the other ones, it very much felt like, this is fun, but it doesn't feel
fun.
It doesn't feel special in the way that when I was sitting there watching Civil War, I went, oh my God, when Spider-Man whips out on screen and fucking, you know, Lang goes Giant Man. You have these moments of like, I can't believe they're pulling this off.
Right.
And it's working.
Incredulity.
And maybe it is simply that. Maybe it's that it's just a spoil of riches where now I feel like in a very brief amount of time, in the 10 years since we've had good superhero movies, don't at me, I love the Nolan Batman movies as well. But I'm just saying, like, right. Like, in the 10 years that we've had the big, huge, massive, successful thing that was the MCU, I feel like Marvel movies have already taken the like 40-year journey that pro wrestling has been on. Where we are now no longer satisfied with just good. We need exceptional for it to be noteworthy.
And
whereas like
hard.
Just good, like pro wrestling for years, like in the 80s or like let's say like 70s to 80s, where they remove the veil of like sports entertainment, right?
Yeah.
And then we get to like attitude stuff where it has to be like new and shocking and great. And like once that happened, like most wrestling people, fans, like the quote diehards, the way that you and I are diehards of like the Marvel stuff, like most of them aren't satisfied with just like a well-told story and a good match. We want like crazy shit. And that's what it is with Marvel now.
I want the opposite with Marvel, where I want not crazy shit and small shit or actual crazy shit. And instead, I feel like they're trying to do both. Like Ant-Man Quantumania. I know you haven't seen it, but like
it's a lot.
It should be a lot.
In fairness, though, this specific franchise within the franchise, this trilogy within the franchise, has always been fucking weird and zany.
Oh, yeah. But we haven't had a normal one in a while. That's kind of my point. Look at Phase 4. We didn't have like...
I mean, Moon Knight, I think, is probably like the most contained. I know that it was mixed, but I really loved the contained story of Falcon Winter Soldier.
I would argue Black Widow is the most contained.
Black Widow,
and I liked it more than most.
Yeah, me too. That made me really weep quite a bit.
Yeah, Black Widow got me.
I just hated. It was one of those movies where it was an action movie in which the action was the worst part of it. And it was just
Taskmaster, it was sacrilegious to the character, and I don't often feel changes are bad.
I guess I never really cared enough about the character to feel that way.
Oh, see, I love Taskmaster. So that's the
difference. And I don't
dislike
Taskmaster, but I just felt like
you don't make a snarky character mute. I don't mind that he's now a she, and I don't mind even the way they portrayed the fighting style.
It is true.
It's the snark is the character.
Well, because what they opted to do is they opted to tell the who's under the mask story, and you can't have somebody yapping.
Yeah. Did we not learn that Deadpool zipping his mouth shut's not the move, and then repeat that mistake? He's literally like a Deadpool foil.
That's a good point.
They're so parallel. I think Ant-Man, I've had an interesting time where not only are people not used to me being negative, but I have been trying to make it very clear that the standard of excellence needs to maintain excellence if you want to receive excellence.
Right.
Like if you accept mediocrity, you'll get it. So I think that Marvel going like, whoa, ahead of it was a good move. But I think people are like confused online why I'm suddenly like picking things apart. I'm like, yeah, because if we rest on our laurels going into phase 5, if we have a Kang that is going to be our big bad and we say it's fine, then the rest of the phase is going to be fine. Right. So it's been an interesting, like I'm not as angry on the internet as I was when I was burnt out, but it's been a really interesting trying to make sure the people that follow me for my kindness and my love of art understand that my love of art is why I want this to be better.
Right. Yeah, I get that. I feel like that's sort of, I mean, I don't necessarily care about like the public, like, you know, like the
sure
the, like I'm not I'm not a pundit like you are, but I just feel like I'm reaching a point. I'm getting to a point in the MCU where I have been at for years with Star Wars.
We're just done.
Whereas not done. I'm just sort of like, I bet you it's good.
I'll see it at some point.
Yeah, but it feels less precious.
That said, Cocaine Bear fucking rocked me, man.
Now I think because of that, I don't remember Cocaine Bear being recruited by Nick Fury.
He's in Alpha Flight.
That makes sense. You know what? I can see that.
I can totally see it. Can you imagine Vindicator, Wolverine, and Puck with Cocaine Bear? Like a little side mission with them.
And like Sasquatch hates him because he's like, I'm the big furry guy.
I'm supposed to be the crazy big bearish character.
I heard Cocaine Bear is great.
I had such a good time with it. And I also think it was like the boldness I wanted.
Right. And that was Elizabeth Banks.
Yeah, she directed it.
Yeah,
she crushed.
I love her.
It's basically an 80s slasher film where Jason is played by a bear on cocaine. And I didn't know what that would feel like until I was 20 minutes in. I was like, oh, this is all the horror movies I watched on VHS as growing up, but with fucking Weta doing the magic on a bear on cocaine.
I mean, listen.
Like,
there are some titles that just make sense.
And I love that people were, I don't know like how online you are of late. I know we've been dealing with this chaos, but I was promoting Cocaine Bear, like not under money, not under any obligation, but because I genuinely loved it. And it felt good to love a thing. It felt good to be passionate and be different. And so many people were like, you're suggesting that it's a good thing that bears do cocaine. And I was like, how did we go? Like, what is this me advocating for?
I have a very difficult relationship with Asylum Pictures.
Oh, very interesting. Yeah.
And I have friends. I've associated with them. I've associated myself with them in ways. I have a lot of friends work with. They've done some really awful things. So I try not to tout them too much. But the fact that they have released a poster for Meth Gator
immediately. On Friday.
Meth Gator is fantastic. Yeah, no, I mean,
I heard rumors of Adderall Alligator, and I'm so in.
There's a lot of that going on.
They should. Right now, but I mean, I tweeted today or late last night that I think there's a fatigue in geek culture with the geek adaptation, but geeks still want weird. So I think between Cocaine Bear and certain other properties being weird and like letting artists go crazy, and then the flip of horror movies budget-wise, I think we're about to have this weird-ass movie renaissance. I think we're about to have a lot of very strange low to mid-budget things.
You say that we're about to. I think we've had it, but it's starting to become a little more. I mean, like the stuff that A24 has been doing.
Sure, that's fair.
The guys that,
look at the Oscars
by the way, we'll talk about on the POP. Your boy finally got to watch
Everything Everywhere.
Everything Everywhere.
Yes!
But like those guys, I mean, I know that not everybody. I know that Swiss Army Man wasn't like a giant mainstream movie, but everybody that I talked to that has seen it has been like, "What? This is I want more of this stuff."
I think we're gonna see a lot more Daniels.
Yeah, Daniels is.
I look at Banshees. That's a weird movie. Like
yeah,
Martin McDonagh having posters everywhere is weird for me.
Sure, I'll take, but it's also unsurprisingly this like quote indie darling kind of
because
movie.
we know Martin McDonagh.
Sure,
if you didn't,
but
what a time.
Yeah, but no, I get
Look at the Best Picture race. It's like Top Gun and Martin McDonagh having like that's a weird thing, and I think that's really special.
Oh my god, how fun would it be to watch those two characters try to learn how to be jet fighters?
Oh my god!
In the Top Gun program.
I want Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell, even if it's an SNL skit. I want that moment so badly. Oh, Calm Son Larry just sitting in a fighter jet is enough for me.
I still haven't seen Top Gun yet.
No, really?
Yeah.
I think they're re-releasing it for the Oscars. So if that's the way to see it, dude.
Maybe.
Like legitimately. You have an affection for the first.
When I was young, it was all over. It was
I think if you have any affection, like a morsel, it's worth it.
By the way, the next time that we are
post Oscars,
it'll be post Oscars. Yeah.
So
and I don't care about the Oscars, but I know you do, so I want to remind you.
So yeah, next week, like we did with James Gunn, we'll do an Oscar predictions and be totally wrong. Speaking of James Gunn, though, I love that the one thing you and I both agreed on is the one thing that was the foundation of the announcement. We both said if James Gunn can make it about comic books, it'll be so important for the culture.
Yeah,
and then everything sold out.
Yeah, so we talked about our expectations for what we wanted out of his announcement.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, compared to all the silly shit we came up with that day, it was wildly underwhelming to see like him just like on like a green screen.
Yeah.
Like it was very, I was like, oh, he's just like shooting this on his like
PowerPoint.
But it wasn't even like shot in HD. That shit was, he was using like an old flip phone.
I feel like dude was on the Warner Brothers lot. Right. Like, we should make a video.
But I will say, there's a notable difference. And again, I'm sure that in his heart of hearts, he truly loves everything. But
oh man,
I can see through the bullshit.
That man is not an actor, but he's a performer.
There is a notable difference between he's like, okay, so this is the slate. We've got like, Shazam 2 and Aquaman 2, or what is the order of them?
It's Shazam 2, which he was like so excited for you guys to see.
Yeah, great. And then
Blue Beetle, which is
Blue Beetle, and then
Flash, I loved.
But no, but then
he lost his mind over Flash.
Here's the thing, not even that. Because even that, he's like Flashpoint, really great.
This is one of the greatest comic films he's ever seen.
This is gonna reset. Yeah, he said it.
But I felt it was Aquaman for me.
I felt him saying like, please still see it. I know that there.
I felt that about the other three except
But
Flash.
wait. Let me get to it. Because then he says like blah blah blah, and then Aquaman 2, and then that's when we'll begin what we are going to get into, which is Gods and Monsters, the first official part. The chapter.
I totally agree.
And when he started talking about his own shit, he came to life.
For me,
whereas those 4 movies, he was like, they spent all this money, guys. I still have to tell you about them.
I feel like those 4 were at like 3 of those were at like a 4. And then I felt like Flash was like an 8 and his were at 11. Yeah. I just felt like I genuinely am more excited for Flash because of how neutral he was about the other 3. Right. Because of that like lull.
I think if I can go into Flash pretending like I didn't see any of the other things, I might enjoy it. The trailer for it looks really fun.
I love the trailer.
It's just one of those things where I've said this for years about Man of Steel. You can't build a fucking skyscraper on a foundation of peanut butter.
And no one gets that about Henry Cavill not coming back.
It won't stand.
Why can other people stay? 1, they're not. 2, even if they were, there's no way that we won't associate his face with the movies he's in.
Exactly. Like you can't. And so it's really hard for me to just be like, well, this will be fun. But I don't know. Well, it does. The trailer makes it look very entertaining. It looks lighthearted and adventurous. It looks like a caper. Which is something I want.
Did you notice, and maybe this is me over analyzing it, which I do, is Andy Muschietti shot each of the franchises in the director's style.
Yeah, I think that was very well. I think it's supposed to be universal. I think he's like, yeah.
To me, that felt like the first time we saw a jazzy smash page. From remember in the 70s when artists would team up on a big splash.
Yep.
It reminded me of like,
I mean, Image would do that
all the time. Yeah,
there's a few of those.
When I saw Civil War, I remember that was the first time we talk about it all the time. It felt like a double page spread.
Yeah.
This is the first time I was like, are they putting Perez and Starlin both on pencils? Like it felt like different.
Well, it felt like a live action version of what Into the Spider-Verse did.
Right.
Right.
Which is, I didn't think Muschietti wouldn't do that. I just didn't think that Warner Brothers would be like, no, shoot this like Burton, or let him shoot it like Burton, shoot it like Snyder, and then do your own style.
Yeah.
So that was my favorite part of the trailer. I was like, they're shooting Burton like Burton?
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be fun. Whether or not it's going to like immediately win me over to, I feel like I could very easily just skip all that.
Sure.
And just watch whatever his first, because I think it's Superman is going to be the first movie, right?
So that's what's interesting to me is, remember when Walter Hamada was basically like, no, Henry Cavill's not coming back. And we kept hearing all these reports that like the way The Rock got him was by like a handshake deal. And it was like, shh, Henry's here. Like it felt like they like ran him under a cloak and filmed and he left.
Right.
So what I've heard is that Walter Hamada was trying to fast track a Superman film to reboot the Superman thing.
Right.
And that script wasn't James Gunn's at the time, but the idea of a thing called Superman Legacy was already in play.
Got it.
So Superman Legacy, Peacemaker season 2, and the Commando show were already in the works before James Gunn got hired.
Right, sure.
So what's really interesting to me is that James Gunn now fighting to direct it as well. He's already written it, but maybe also direct it while being the Kevin Feige alongside Peter Safran. That's such an interesting thing to be like starting a universe, but also we've got this project, but let me also run it. But his script must have been amazing. Is what my
because
point
it does feel though just like corporate stuff. It feels very much like, well, we're still going to call it Legacy because we already filed for the trademark.
Right. We own the website.
we already did all the licensing for this movie that we said we were going to release. So call it that. It doesn't fucking matter what it's about. Who cares? It's
the graphic artist got paid for this logo.
It's a generic name.
Right.
You can name any superhero movie, blank superhero's name, Legacy. And it goes, yeah, great, whatever. We could have called this Ant-Man Legacy. Great, it works.
The amount of people that are like, he's going to die because it's called Legacy in his first movie, I was like, you guys don't. Matter. It's funny how much we don't. But yeah, the slate itself, I think, is bitchin'.
It looks cool. I mean, I'm interested in the way he kept emphasizing, like, it's going to be all one universe across
animated TV,
TV and film and games is what he said.
Yeah, and
I'm like, well, that's fun. It's like, but also it's not, because you did specify that we're still going to have these other movies.
I think the Batman. I mean, that was my wish number 2, other than the comics books, was that stays over there.
Continuing, yeah. And I think at the end of the day, like, this is great. I'm excited for what he's calling officially the DCU, which is what he's just calling it. They got rid of the E and they're just going with DCU. I mean, he has yet to let me down. And so until I show up to Guardians 3 and go, this is a hot garbage, then I'm going to stay excited for whatever he does, because he's a pretty consistently good entertainer and writer and director. And I trust how much passion he has for the picks that he had. Totally.
And I do a show called Capes and Cowls with my buddy Christian, and he was saying that it was alienating how James Gunn heavy it was. And I was like, I think that you should be passionate about the slate you've built. And also, we don't know how Kevin Feige heavy phase 1 through 3 are, because we didn't know Kevin Feige yet.
Yeah.
So it's a weird thing to be like,
because you didn't take a director who was already working and promote him. You just pulled a guy who was this executive who was already doing the work.
Right, and made him a face. So I think it's interesting that people are like, worried about the Gunness of it all. And I was like, passion is important.
What I would much more likely compare that to is I think James Gunn is now officially the Jon Favreau of DC.
Oh, I love that.
Because Jon Favreau doesn't get credit for sculpting all of phase 1.
Yeah.
Because we associate him with Iron Man.
Wars
well, sure. But I mean, like, we associate him with Iron Man. Right. But he's an EP on all of those movies, and he was a consultant for all of those movies. And Feige, he was essentially Feige's partner and his right-hand man.
And then wanted to go direct
for creating what became the MCU.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for him fighting for Iron Man for all of those years, the MCU wouldn't exist. So I think this James Gunn is Jon Favreau.
I like that a lot.
And now he is also Kevin Feige. But
I really like that take. I have not heard that yet, and that's exactly accurate.
Yeah.
I will credit you when I take that everywhere. That's a really good point.
Thanks.
No, but like that truly is.
Oh my God, he's gonna be forced to mention me on the podcast.
Hey,
on the show.
I've been so much better. I have been 2023 Koicast promotions.
Listen, people are starting to.
It's working.
Like, hey, I'm just doing this podcast for the first
time. It's brand new. It only started right before the pandemic. But I really think Gunn coming out with Booster Gold is really smart. I think that's my most anticipated next to Supergirl.
What was the order again? Do you remember? But was Superman first?
Superman's first.
Okay, so that's the first movie. I will say, like, I don't know. Are these going to be Warner Brothers shows? Is that what he's?
I think they're HBO Max.
Oh, so that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Warner show, HBO Max show. So it's like, It's just like with Marvel. Like, I would prefer them all just to be movies, but I get that's not how the entertainment industry works anymore.
I think Booster Gold as a show is smart because it's not as marketable, and you need a long form thing like Peacemaker.
Right, sure.
And I feel like Booster is going to be surprising the fuck out of people with how topical it is.
So this was the one thing that I don't know if I misunderstood or if we all heard our own ways, but this is the one thing that when that release came out last month and I saw you on every show talking about it, I was like, I interpreted the Lantern completely different than you.
Oh.
You interpreted what he said as it's like a buddy cop thing because he mentioned
True Detective.
He mentioned True Detective. So I understood that as, oh, this is going to be not archival. What do you call it? When it's
anthology.
Oh, that's how I interpreted that. Where it's like season 1 will be.
That's cool.
Season 1 is going to be about Hal or whatever. Season 2, like I think.
That's interesting. I didn't
because you kept talking on shows about like, oh, it's gonna be so great seeing them together.
Right.
And I interpreted him as saying that like, no, this is gonna be
because season 1 is Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan. But what you're saying is season 2 might be Kyle Rayner. Season 3 might be Guy Gardner.
I feel like when he specifically mentioned True Detective, I understood that as anthology and not as the style of the show.
See, it was the combination of the sentence about True Detective, but also the mystery element that's going to affect the DCU that made me think season 1, because all 3 seasons are mysteries. But what you're saying actually is way better for the scope of what the Lanterns are.
100%.
Because like you want that anthology
It's going to be crammed. It's going to be like the Marvel problem where they're going to try to cram too much shit into a show.
But if you just do one season of these 2 Lanterns and then have the end like meet some others, that's a great idea.
But I'm excited for that. I'm still. That's probably out of everything, the thing I'm most skeptic about because out of all the people will say like, oh, you can't make a good modern Superman movie. I think that's bullshit. People say you can't like, we didn't think Guardians would work. Right. And I was like, well, it's going to be weird. And then he made it work. But there is something about like magic mind conjuring that is going to be
translate visually
so difficult.
Also,
it's going to be so difficult because it's the problem. It's this like the problem with the really terrible Green Lantern movie is like of all of the things that he can come up with, no matter what we come up with in our brains in the moment as a writer,
right?
There's a billion things
that someone else will think of that might work better.
That are going to be better.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of an impossible task.
It kind of is, yeah.
You kind of have to put into the character a specific trait that
like a style they would use that narrows down your field of creativity.
Exactly.
But that's why I think Kyle Rayner is going to be more cinematically approachable because he's an artist and you can plan to play with that like that direction of creativity.
Right. It's also just like not. It never makes sense why something is an object in humanity.
Right.
Like Lantern. Why isn't it all just like
shapes
or just like if he can create the energy, like why doesn't the energy itself do damage and or protect?
Right.
Why does it need to be a tank that shoots energy bullets? You don't need the tank to shoot the bullets.
And that's
you are the energy
invented.
Bullets.
That's the issue with the Silver Age is like how do you going to translate? He's a Silver Age character that feels like a Golden Age character, and both of those ages don't translate well, as we've learned. Yeah. Like you and I are like in the rare that don't love the Sam Raimi films. I think they captured a lot of the Silver Age Spider-Man well, but a lot of the things that don't translate to film is what they captured.
Yeah,
like I have my problems with Toby, but I also like tonally have an issue with
it. Was the issue of like his camp balance.
Yeah,
when it was good camp, it was working best. And then when it wasn't, it was bad studio teen melodrama.
Right. Immediately went to Smallville and then back to camp.
Exactly.
And that was the issue like we talked about with Hellboy. Like Hellboy was so many things that like it could have been so special. Talk about
a great TV show idea.
Right.
It's and just taking that exact story and going, hey, I know we made the movie, but we're gonna spread
6
it out.
hours.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I think Lanterns has potential. I know you're more movie and I'm generally more movie, but 2 of them I think Lanterns and Booster Gold I think will fit the medium better.
Yeah.
I do think my most excited is I think have I gotten you to read that that Superwoman comment? Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow?
I've never read that comic.
Okay, no. So that was one that I literally, it was an 8-issue run and 7 out of 8 made my top 9 of the week here. And the one that fell off, the next issue like fixed my problem. I was like, fuck. That is probably my favorite Supergirl comic of all time.
Right.
And the fact that he literally said adapting this, not inspired by.
100%. Yes.
And Tom King has every time I've seen him at a con has been saying, like, working on his Hollywood thing, he's writing the fucker.
That's great.
So I think it's the first time we've had the comic writer
it's great.
actually make the movie. And he was supposed to do New Gods with Ava DuVernay, so he's not alien to scripts.
No.
So that's
he can probably take the studio pressure.
Right.
Yeah. That's really, really great. That's good news. Yeah, I think in broad strokes, the things that you have been saying for the past month, I wholeheartedly agree with, about the fact that like James Gunn is putting images of comic books on screen.
They're selling.
Instead of trying to introduce mainstream audiences to a new character for this movie. Like,
right.
Meaning like, hey, we have this new movie featuring this new character. Like, not everything is Raimi's Dark Man or whatever. Like, this isn't necessarily this new crazy thing. It's like, no, this is... we are going to take something that already exists that's great and do it in a new medium, and that's great.
It blows my mind that it felt so novel this deep in the game. I kept looking at images of a man presenting a comic book and going, oh, he's doing it. And then I kept being like, why is that?
I remember thinking at the end, I know still haven't finished it yet. It's a bummer, but I remember thinking at the end of Hitmonkey on Hulu, when at the end of the episodes, when they would put up the graphic novel and say, like, for more Hitmonkey, please check out this graphic novel. And I thought to myself, like, how long did this take? Like, why?
Right.
How come Hitmonkey on Hulu in whatever it was, 2021?
Yeah.
Whenever that came out. How come that was the first time I had ever seen for more of this character buy this product that exists
in our company? That only helps
so
us.
Absurd. It's so
You've
absurd.
seen the Flash trailer. We talked about it. The Flash ring in the trailer. Where he gets his suit, they show a quick shot of his ring.
Right.
Apparently there's a tie-in comic like they usually do for how that ring happens with Ben Affleck's Batman.
That's fun.
But it's already out, and that's the first time I've been like, oh, they're advertising a tie-in in the trailer because you want that information. Right. And I was like, why is this late in the game?
Yeah. Flash is, the trailer looks fun, and I'm going to go into that movie with that. I don't know that I'm going to see that in the theater. I've given the DC too much of my money already.
I think the end of Flash is going to launch James Gunn's world in a fascinating way because
but then how do we have
comes out after.
Yeah, how do we have two more movies or one more movie after that?
I don't know what they're going to do with Aquaman because I don't know if you've been hearing, but it's the worst ratings for a press screening or for one of those, like, you fill in the thing in the history of DC.
Right.
People walked out of a screening. That is like you're at a free screening. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
I also was like, wait, what press? No, test screening.
Yeah. People walked out of a test screening.
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
That's crazy.
I would have walked out of the first one had I gone to it.
$1 billion film is the first one. How do you walk out? But that means those people know what this is. That's what's even crazier.
And that's why there's a good possibility that it changes.
Yeah.
Still even.
Like I don't know what they're gonna do considering they scrapped Batgirl.
Right.
Like,
but listen, not to rush us past this stuff because
it's fascinating.
It's fascinating. But we haven't talked about what I'm the most excited about.
What do you got?
About all of it. And it was
Creed 3.
The most shocking because everything I was like, all right, cool, whatever. Yeah, expected. And then he uttered those two words that I went fucking apeshit over. And he said, the authority.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, like, this is the most surprising thing out of all of it. The authority being, and again, he said, by the way, that these are all connected.
Yeah.
Which means that we're going to get an authority
that lives next to Superman and Batman.
With the real Superman and Batman. So the Authority is one of my favorite books. Like I've talked before about how my favorite versions of Justice League are unfortunately
we've
never
literally talked about this book on this show.
The Authority and Marvel's Max Supreme Squadron are my two favorite Justice League stories.
Yeah,
and it's really
and their commentaries on the Justice League.
It's unfortunate. But the thing is that they're the books that became so successful that eventually they were able to tell really good stories regardless of the fact that they were at first potentially satire.
Yeah.
Or not even satire, like you said, commentary.
And the Authority walked so the boys could run, by the way.
100%.
Like, let the record show.
Yes, if you like the boys and you've never read the Authority.
This is the groundwork.
I always say, when I used to try to pitch the boys, I used to try to say, the boys answers the question, who watches the Watchmen, as inspired by the Authority. So I feel like the boys is the Authority meets the Watchmen.
Yeah.
Right. And it was like those two things I think inspired the boys very much so.
Yeah.
But anyways, the fact that we are going to get, and it's because it's Gunn, I trust the fact that we're going to get Midnighter
Dude.
And hopefully we're gonna get an actual like relationship.
Oh, I guarantee
like,
it. There's no way Gunn says yes without that being part of his mandatory.
So yeah, if you're unaware, Superman and Batman are lovers.
Gay couple in the mainstream.
Yes. And it's not played for laughs.
Yep.
And it's just a really good book, and it's got great characters who, by the way, I'm also like, how are you going to do this? There are certain characters in that book that I go like, well, how the fuck are they going to film that?
Right.
Like, what is that going to look like?
It's the authority announcement was the first time I went, all right, I'm going to use my powers for evil. Did you see what I put out? I did aggressive marketing for, hey, you fans want Henry Cavill back.
Right.
Why don't we cast him as Apollo?
Apollo. He should 100% be Apollo.
And then you piss off every single person that doesn't understand what Superman represents.
That is, by the way, that is the fucking casting.
Right. It's right there.
And
also,
the white hair.
The Witcher.
Exactly.
He already looks great.
We know that he looks the part because it's just a Superman.
Major UK outlets picked up that story, and I got editorials written on that pitch, and like it's the first time I've been like, I'm gonna lean into this power.
That is a legitimate. I know you maybe were just trolling the DC.
No, it was the seed was trolling, and then it was.
It's also, and it's not wildly different than. What is his name? Alejandro, the guy who did Birdman.
Right.
It's not entirely different than him casting Michael Keaton as Birdman, as the actor,
100%.
As the actor who played Birdman in that universe.
Yeah.
Like,
or Nicolas Cage as Big Daddy in Kick-Ass. Like that was a commentary on a style that like worked for the thing.
100%.
I think Henry Cavill would not only do well, but I think it would give him closure. I don't know if he'd ever do it because of the relationships, but like the closure, I think that would allow.
I think he would do it in a fucking heartbeat.
I think he knows what his Superman is that he never got to play. And I think it'd be really interesting
now,
to see.
Here's the thing is that's not Apollo.
No, it's not. But
Apollo is way more of
he'd be playing the Snyder Superman.
That's the irony, yeah.
He'd be playing that. That's what I'm saying.
Because Snyder wrote Superman like Apollo.
There's no way James Gunn didn't go, let's make the Snyder team. It's the Authority. That's why I'm saying.
Yeah, but the Authority's better than...
No, 100%.
I know.
But I love that we're getting the thing to appeal to them.
That just hurt my feelings. That's all.
But we're getting the thing to appeal to the Snyder fans by a commentary. And that's why you cast Henry Cavill, because Cavill actually gets what the real thing is. So he'll get the commentary.
I love it so
like
so
it
much.
Would literally like hook, line, and sinker for me.
I mean, do you cast Ben Affleck?
I was thinking,
Midnighter?
I think either Ben Affleck or you have a little bit of inside baseball tongue in cheek.
Christian Bale?
Oh, dude, that's even better. I was going to say Jake Gyllenhaal. Because that's who was going to be him before Affleck was cast.
I didn't know that.
So, but that also ties in the
sure.
The audience that he brings from Brokeback and from a lot of his work would be a beautiful play of like, look at these guys. And
that might be
two
too
movie
much.
Stars.
I think Jake Gyllenhaal, because of Brokeback, that might be too much.
That's fair. I do love the idea of Bale though.
I mean, Christian Bale would be hilarious.
Dude, Bale and Cavill and boning is like...
I will say that like I do picture Midnighter, and it might just be the way that he's drawn and whatnot. Like, I do picture him. I actually do. You know who I picture him as, to be perfectly honest with you? You just mentioned him, former Punisher. His name is Bernthal.
Oh, that's good.
That's how I picture him.
I love that.
Now, I wouldn't cast him in it because I would prefer it to be a new face. Even though I co-sign Cavill a million times
because it does so much.
I always want the new face, but I always picture Midnighter being a little bit more of a, he has an ego. He's a fragile ego.
Right.
More so than...
Oh, dude, you know who he announced it on his Instagram? Frank Grillo is joining the DCU.
He would be great as
That's
Midnighter.
A very specific...
Hey, I love the man, but does he have the range for that?
Well,
I've never seen him be deep. I've only ever seen him be action movie deep.
I've seen him... Yeah, then that's a different flavor of deep than the Midnighter should have.
Right. So
He's also like, 59 works now, but will it work? Like, do they want more than one of these?
Right, yeah. I remember... an acting teacher I had once absolutely like broke my heart when I was in my 20s, but was 100% right. And I feel like Frank Grillo, I don't know why this just reminded me of that. So I'm just sidebarring this, but like, it was, we were going over this emotional scene, and this professor was trying to explain to me how you can be an actor who is fantastic at shtick.
Oh yeah.
And that is enough to convince that is convincing enough for most art forms.
Right.
But some art forms, shtick doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I feel like Frank Grillo's drama is shtick. versus
That's really interesting.
Like it's, you know what I mean? Like there's a level of like, you know, emotional, the sort of emotions that you get on multicam sitcoms.
Yeah.
Where it works. Like you can totally be a good actor and have a sad moment and an earnest moment with another actor. But because of the circumstances around you, it's ultimately drama as shtick.
You know what I think?
Versus like truly being in the moment, truly giving that performance. And I feel like as much as, and I'm dogging on Frank Grillo. I mean, it's fucking great. I love him in things, but you get what I'm saying. There's
McConaughey before and after.
100%. McConaughey was all
shtick until he said nope and went away for 3 years.
Right.
Came back to it.
By the way, can you tell that most of my acting professors were Jewish?
Shtick.
Everything is shtick. Yeah.
But yeah, McConaughey is both.
100%. So anyways.
Wheelman, I think, is the most nuanced performance I've seen from Grillo, and I think he's incredible in it, but I don't know if that performance works in a genre that doesn't have that editing and that overall pathos of drive. Like that movie's genius, by the way, if you haven't seen Wheelman, but it requires a style of acting that Grillo has mastered. I don't know if we've ever gotten the opportunity to see anything else.
Right. In regards to The Authority, I do think it is interesting, and I'm sure this has happened before. I'm pretty sure we've even mentioned it probably, but it's going to be interesting to see how they have to maneuver around the fact that the Boys television program exists.
Right.
This is an instance where the thing that came first was adapted from last.
Yeah.
And now something else that has, and I'm not going to call The Boys a copycat. It's one of my favorite comics of all time. And I think the show is fucking outstanding, but we've talked about it. It's very much, again, like you said, Authority walked kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting how to see how they have to change that
to allow for
the fact that it's not just a Boys ripoff,
right?
Or it's not
even
just
the wardrobe. There's so much.
There's a lot of similarities.
And the Authority is so good.
A lot of similarities.
I don't want to lose that.
Hell, I think it's one of the reasons why Jupiter Ascending was a tough show. Because and I watched a bit of it, and it's not that I didn't want to finish it. It's just very much a like, ooh man, and the flavor just doesn't feel right.
Yeah,
it feels like something is missing, because The Boys is so much
right.
what it is.
What The Boys defies logic for how good it is in the same way that Iron Man 1 does.
Right.
There's very few, even my favorites, like Winter Soldier. Is it's like Iron Man, Winter Soldier, and like Infinity War and Endgame. Those to me are like, how is this able to do all of these things no matter how many times I watch it? Spider-Verse.
Right.
And then there's others that are great, but I feel like The Boys every single week, I'm like, how the fuck?
Right. It doesn't make any sense.
What are you doing? Like, how did you get me?
And that to me was like all of the MCU up until Endgame. And
oh, wow.
Almost. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. It's even the movies that people didn't like.
You had something with.
I went like, it's still, they're still building.
Yeah.
And all of the bricks are in the right spot.
I think that's why I was so upset about Ant-Man was because I kept going, phase 4 is like phase 1, they're building, phase 5 is going to be like phase 2, where you could feel that like cohesion. And then when Ant-Man felt like, well, and then I was like, oh no, cohesion. And I think I'm now exactly where you were.
Right.
I'm hoping that with delaying and restructuring and now also the pressure of DC, I honestly think the best thing that could happen to Marvel is James Gunn going to DC, because now they know that they're about to fight.
And 100%. And it also allows Marvel to pivot in a way that they have to change the roadmap, because
they can't stay on the road because they're about to.
And also because it's like, this was one of your guys here.
Yeah.
And there's no bad blood between them at all, but
I made a little video that I didn't know some of these facts, but I did I'm trying to branch out as opposed to just being commentary. Like you and I have talked about how I don't love the TikTokification of anything. I really am bothered by the Easter egg culture. I like Easter eggs and they're fun. I don't want that to be everything I do. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to just start on my own personal page making the videos I want to see.
Sure.
And it's been exhausting because I don't edit. It takes me 6 to 7 hours to edit an 8-minute video because I just don't have the skill.
Sure.
But I made a 3-minute video basically describing how Superman is the reason we have the Marvel Universe. And it was really cool because I knew that Kevin Feige fought to work with Dick Donner.
Right.
And that's how Lauren Schuler Donner hired him for X-Men. But I didn't realize that he grew up with a Superman the movie poster on his wall, and that he makes every single Marvel director watch Superman the movie before they can direct.
Yep.
And then the first person that James Gunn asked about Superman doing the movie was Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
So literally this beautiful, that's the world.
Right.
So I just love the parallels between 1978 shaping today's.
It also, by the way, is just like it shows you how exhausting all the fanboys are, who the Marvel versus DC
that's
fanboys.
why I make video.
It's so exhausting.
It was my sequel to Henry Cavill should play fucking Apollo video. It was like, guys, stop.
Well, in any case, we do have a hotline call we want to get to before we crown this month's official unpunchable gift horse of the month, which is coming up. But let's grab a hotline call first.
Hey guys, Curtis Mason from Washington. I had a question / idea. With Jason Momoa wanting to play Aquaman and Lobo, and J.J. Abrams' Superman is still continuing, as well as a James Gunn Superman project, is it possible they could put Lobo and J.J. Abrams' Superman thing separate from what James Gunn's doing? Perhaps this has been talked about on like a million podcasts by the time this airs, but I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts. Have a good day. Bye.
Curtis.
I love this because it would solve a problem, and I love Elseworlds, and I love that playfulness. In fact, even before last week, would have been like, that's what they're going to do. And now I think Aquaman's just done. I think I'm not so worried about Aquaman carrying on and confusing people with Lobo, because it does not sound like Aquaman 2 is the hit they wanted. I more and more am hearing people saying they're not going to see these next 4 movies. I'm going to see them because I'm really excited for Blue Beetle. I love the first Shazam. I liked the Aquaman we got, and I'm definitely like that Flash trailer. It's going to be tricky with, the real life ramifications, but I do love the idea of Lobo as the first bad guy for Superman, though, because we've had a lot of...
It feels real weird to me.
Really?
I don't know. It just feels weird to me. It feels like a clash of styles. And I get it that it's not... It happens in the comic, but it's just one of those things where, to me, I just associate Lobo... To me, this would be like, oh, yeah, we're making... I'm trying to pick like another
X-Men
comic
versus
book,
Deadpool,
or like like if Lobo's like Ghost Rider,
right?
Damn it, we're gonna do Captain Marvel and Ghost Rider or something like that.
Why would you start there?
Or Venom, like Captain Marvel versus Venom. It just seems like an odd.
See, I was thinking that the dichotomy of truth, justice, the American way, with anarchy and chaos would be good to show how good Superman is.
In fairness, there's a lot of different people who've written Lobo a lot of different ways, and I have not read all of them. So maybe there's a version of that character that is a little bit less like an 80s metalhead punk rock kind of vibe. But I feel like that, I don't know. They exist in different places. I
could totally see that. And that clash is what I'm thinking could work.
Right.
But it could also go horribly wrong.
Right.
Like, I really like the idea of Superman fighting Danzig,
Sure. I will say, though, not a fan of Momoa as Lobo.
Really?
I think, honestly, Momoa just needs to go. I think Momoa needs to go Batista for a little while.
Oh, and just like work on his, because Batista's incredible.
Because while I do think he's incredibly charming, I don't think he's great in these roles. And I think
he's exactly Lobo, so he doesn't need to be great.
I think he's. I don't know.
He literally Aquaman is more Lobo than Aquaman.
You might not be wrong. I get that. I totally get that. But he's more Lobo than Aquaman, but it doesn't mean he's entirely Lobo.
I see what you're saying.
And I don't know. I just feel like it would just be like, again, obviously it would be a bad idea because if it's not Cavill as
right. It's not a commentary. It's like, why is that guy over there?
Right. It's very different. It would be very jarring and very odd. I would prefer, again, as always, like a no-namer there in that spot or somebody fun.
But I do think that as far as types, I think what we're saying is he's the right type, 100%. But an unknown of him.
Yeah.
And also, it could work with Superman, but it's a fine line to walk.
100%.
And I also think that J.J. Abrams' Superman is going to have to be iconic in a different way than Gunn's needs to be iconic. Because if they're going to exist side by side, J.J. is going to have to deal with a lot more racism and awful people. Right. So it's going to need to be a different flavor just from the jump.
Sure.
So I don't know if I'd put that one against Lobo just because that's a tricky line you're already walking.
100%.
I mean, honestly, I think that if you have an African-American Superman, having him go up against a rich white guy with Lex Luthor would be
easier story to tell.
And a little bit more linear of hey, this is what this commentary is like. You guys understand.
And not that it needs to be racial in any capacity, but I get what you're saying.
I think it's more, you're doing a lot of other things.
Right.
So I would go leaner with the villain.
Yeah. It's tougher. I feel like, again, it's coming so late that it's going to be tough to do, Red Skull.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
there's a reason he got
that worked so well.
Yeah.
For that version of that character.
And I do miss a Red Skull.
And
I've noticed an absence of Red Skull in the MCU.
I will say this do we know that Superman Legacy takes place in the modern era?
I don't think we know. No,
because the reality is I would much prefer it to be a period.
We've talked about how like that wholesomeness.
It would work so much better.
Yeah,
and then it would allow the character in modern times, once it catches up, or if they're gonna we do time jumps, it'll allow the character to have all of the experiences as Superman in the same way that we got to watch Cap's journey of being like, hey, this
would he meet Lois at like 50 then? Or would Lois be like 60?
Oh, I see what you're getting at. So is Lois all? No, my guess is like if we're gonna get that movie, it's the classic Superman story,
right? But then
also, by the way, nobody works a fucking newspaper in 2023. Do you know what I mean? Like
there's a point.
They're all gonna end up being like BuzzFeed journalists,
right? Jimmy Olsen, BuzzFeed editor.
It's gonna be like, hey, what are you working on this week, Clark? Oh, a mild-mannered Clark Kent here, reporting on the top 12 squirrels that look like Bryan Cranston.
12 things you didn't know about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. The hierarchy of power at DC has changed.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like it just the story works better. In my opinion, it works better if it's the 50s.
Yeah,
or that era of Americana. Which then again, by the way, it also allows you to draw a giant circle around the social implications and the story of hope that Superman has inspired for so long.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of instances in Superman and Captain America style stories. Fuck, we saw it in stories with Spawn. We saw it in stories with all these people. Or there's been plenty of characters who it's like, oh, the hero is misconstrued as the great white American dream.
Yeah, and that's a fun commentary.
And those heroes go, no, fuck you. That's not what I am.
That's playing with that Watchmen element. That's playing with a lot of those things, which JJ would do. I feel like that's like his 100%. Vein. And I think one of them needs to be a period piece. And actually, in talking about it right now, I'd almost rather see the African American Superman a period piece because of that.
Right.
Like latter day commentary on like, oh yeah, what do you think Superman was? But yeah, I'm very curious if we still get both. It sounds like as of last week, we are still getting both. I again don't necessarily trust long term any of these things until we see them.
At this point,
you got to just say like, yeah, it's good.
It's a coin flip at this point, whether any of this shit happens.
Yeah, and I'm very hopeful for certain ones, but I'm just holding my breath on others.
I'm still not convinced Flash is going to come out.
At this point, dude,
who knows? So I have a theory that they have what's their name?
Ezra?
Yeah, that they have Ezra Miller like locked in a, by the way, I got so Long Island.
Ezra Miller.
I'm so sorry for that. That they have Ezra like locked in a dungeon
so he
somewhere.
can do nothing. They can do nothing wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Just like, and it's just like, hey, we'll get you any books you want to read?
They go to set, they come back to the
I'm
cell.
sorry, no internet. There's no internet allowed. Here's books.
They're the yellow Flash. They're reverse Flash, right?
Yes, here is books. You get books.
Yeah.
And we can play video games, but you're not playing online with anybody.
Nope, can't talk to
You're not allowed to talk to, especially children. And
it's a mess.
And when this movie comes out, we will let you out.
One press conference.
Only if it does good.
Yeah, right. How'd the opening numbers do?
Yeah.
Saturday we can do press. I also think it's going to be a really interesting, it'll be fun to look back on that video James Gunn made about like when the schedule, how things line up, which things we actually get. And that's what's fun about the internet right now. There's so many time capsules that like we just didn't have. And I think often about like one of my main party conversations about how weird time is that the last beheading via guillotine happened in France the same year that Star Wars was out. That's how recently we had. So someone's head could have rolled off and looked up and saw a Star Wars poster. That always blows my mind. The most recent one of those, far less dramatic, is that Ezra Miller was cast as Flash the year that the Flash Grant Gustin show started.
Wait, say that the last part again?
Ezra Miller
the year
was
that
cast,
the TV show started?
Yeah. That show's ending with season 9 this year. Ezra Miller was cast.
How long ago was the Justice League movie?
2014.
That was their first appearance, right?
Yeah, because Wonder Woman and all that was 2013 with BVS.
But there was no Flash in any of that. Flash's introduction
Flash is, I believe, Justice League, correct.
And that was 14?
Yeah.
That's when it came out?
That's when it came out.
And
so I think they
delayed.
I think they shot it in like 12, 13.
Wow.
So literally Grant Gustin and Ezra Miller were only cast like 6 months apart, maybe. Wow. So he's ending his run as the Flash's movie comes out, which feels a lot like a guillotine with Star Wars. crazy to me. Time's weird.
That is bizarre.
So, well, that's going to do it for this week, you lovelies.
No, it's not.
Oh, we got horses to unpunch.
We have some business to do.
Okay, what do we got?
Stop trying to rush us out of here.
I'm so sorry, this extra long episode.
You already peed.
I did. It was nice. I feel better. Coffee.
All right. The very first order of business is, of course, it's March 1st, and we need to name the unpunchable gift horse of the month for the month of March. If you are wondering what the hell we're talking about, then quite frankly, so are we. But from the way we understand this thing that we've created, you got to head on over to patreon.com/KoiCast, become a gift horse leveled patron, and you are entered into this monthly contest in which the winner receives a free item of their choosing from the shop over at dragonwagonshop.com. You get your name and lights in the Discord for the month. Of course, you get clout on the show for just being the unpunchable gift horse. No one can punch you. And you get to choose something for Koi and I to watch, to talk about on the patron-only podcast.
Lots of stuff.
Lots of fun stuff. I want to thank everybody who is a patron, regardless of your tier. We had a nice little influx of a couple new patrons this month. I'm happy to see a new name on the gift horse list here.
Ooh.
There's no last name, which is fun because
That's exciting.
They're like Madonna.
Seal.
Yeah. There's a new. I'm going to give him a shout out now.
Gandhi.
I'm just going to give him a shout out now. And of course, now that if they win, they're going to think
this is rigged.
They're going to think we rigged it. I promise. It's wheelonames.com, you guys. Edward. They just
Edward.
They're just signed up as Edward. I think it's the vampire.
I think it's the Riddler. Edward Nigma.
I was trying to just make your mom happy.
All right, Mom.
Well, without further ado, let's spin this again. We just throw all of the eligible names into wheelonames.com. And then we click spin. And without further ado, the unpunchable gift horse of the month for the month of March 2023 is Curtis Mason.
Curtis Mason.
Curtis Mason.
What a delightful human being.
Unpunchable gift horse of the month of March. Keep your eye on your email. We will send you an email with instructions on how to claim your victory.
Got to give Curtis a shout out here. He got me into one of my current favorite shows on air, and it just came back 2 weeks ago, and I'm actually going to be watching it in March, where he is the unpunchable gift horse. It is Wu-Tang: An American Saga.
Yeah.
Curtis is the one that finished me to watch that, and I've talked to you about it a lot.
I still haven't finished that first season, and my cousin randomly wrote me, and he was like, "Hey, Wu-Tang's back. Can you give me your Hulu logins?" And I was like, "God damn it, PJ!"
I love that sentence so much. Hey, Wu-Tang's back.
Wu-Tang's back. I need your Hulu logins.
Oh, that's so good.
Also, by the way, you have 2 kids. How do you not have the Disney bundle, you cheap bastard?
It's right there. It's literally
cheap bastard.
But yeah, Wu-Tang is nothing to mess with. Wait, I swear on the show all the time. Wu-Tang is nothing to fuck with, and it's season 3, the final season of An American Saga. Started February 15th.
Yeah.
I haven't caught the first couple episodes yet, but I'll be watching it in March, and that is very fitting that Curtis is the
Wu-Tang
unpunchable.
is for the children. You know what else is for the children?
What else we got?
Dragon Wagon Radio.
Correct.
And it is that time of the year. This month, a week from today-ish, Dragon Wagon Radio celebrates its 6-year anniversary. That's fucking bananas that we have been doing
6.
Dragon Wagon Radio broadcasting for 6 years. Listen, you guys know the spiel by this point. I'm not going to go through the entire thing. Do me a favor. If you enjoy the program, you want to show your support, head on over to dragonwagonradio.com/support. There you can watch a fun little video that I made. It's me with the long hair before I cut my hair off.
Whoa.
It's like a time capsule. You get to see long-haired, beautiful, and it's gorgeous. Like, it's like flowing.
You prepared that
I
day?
straightened it.
Whoa.
Yeah. I was like Fabio.
Magnificent.
I had beautiful hair that day.
Just go check the tape.
Watch a video of me talking all about what the network is, how it came about, and how you can show your support for this completely independent, ad-free, zero money, no income, one-man operation that is Dragon Wagon Radio. Thanks to everybody who listens, and I appreciate all that stuff.
Yeah, it is a beautiful place to do work. I was very excited to come here today. I haven't been in a bit, and Dragon Wagon's always comfy, cozy. Literally just took a picture of the sign.
You know what we're going to do soon?
What are we going to do soon?
We're going to make some pizza rolls.
Oh, I've been thinking about it. I'm sure you have. 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
I texted Koi a couple weeks ago when I was out shopping because every time we record a long day. We record a bunch of stuff, a lot of episodes, a lot of POPs.
6, 7
and
hours.
we always go like, oh, we should really prepare some like lunch snacky stuff.
Yeah.
And one day I said like, why don't we just get pizza rolls?
And we
like,
both
that's a great idea.
Whoa.
But then I always forget to get them. And I was in the supermarket and I saw them in the freezer section and I took a picture and I texted him. I said, what flavor, motherfucker? And we were both like, Pepperoni.
Not even a thought, not even a hesitation.
Nope.
That was the answer. I tiered them because I'm a list guy, but pepperoni's at the top.
No. So we're doing that shortly. It's a lot of fun. Hey, everybody. Next episode comes out March 15th.
Beware the Ides of March.
You know what else it is? It's not just Dragon Wagon Radio's birthday.
Oh, shit.
The next episode comes out on my 40th birthday.
The actual birthday of Dragon Wagon Radio. I didn't realize it was so close to your birthday.
It's the day before, actually, technically, because we released the very first episodes of the first 2 programs on Dragon Wagon on March 14th.
So on Pi Day, Dragon Wagon. On the Ides of March, Jake Lloyd Bacon. I'm big on days having associations.
Also, slightly unrelated, on March 14th, Billy Crystal's birthday as well. So
that's cool. You guys share a midnight.
And March 11th, a few days prior, it's what I call Cosmo Day.
Oh.
It's the original Pod Dog, Cosmosis Jones' birthday, and also Campfire Jones' birthday.
Love it.
It's the official Jones Day.
It's not as direct, but Jake and I are exactly on the other sides of the planet from each other on September 15th.
It's so crazy.
So it's exactly 6 months apart. So
it's crazy because I feel like your birthday was like 2 days ago.
This year's been weird. It does. Like,
does it feel like we just celebrated your birthday?
I know I make it excessive, but it does feel like very recently. I was loud, but not that loud. It was like 6 months ago for my 32nd birthday. Right. It does not feel like 6 months have gone by.
No, not at all.
But here we are. The Ides of March are around the corner.
So yeah,
and
I will see you guys in 2 weeks on my 40th birthday. I'm going to be 40.
40.
So don't fucking talk back to me.
Don't fight them. 56-year-olds.
Get off my goddamn lawn.
Oh, man. You can finally be their curmudgeon you've always dreamed.
I was born for you.
The amount of Long Island that's about to just erupt from him starting next week.
There's going to be the rest of the shows. It's going to be me going,
Eh?
Well, that'll never happen because I'll never not fucking hear you.
That's true. Yeah. Me? No. Ezra Miller? Maybe. All right, you lovelies. That is going to do it for this last pod of Jake's 39th year. Coming back next week for some excitement. We're going to be talking hotline calls. We're going to be talking 40th birthdays, what they mean. We're going to be talking all sorts of goodness, and I'm excited to see y'all, hear y'all, talk to y'all next week. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, and thank you, as always, to comic books for existing. Ta-ta.
More than 400 years ago, there was a man who lived in Stratford-upon-Avon named Shakespeare. This is the man many consider to be the greatest writer of all time. Of course, the few things we really know about this guy are that he sold grain, didn't bother to teach his children to read or write, and was kind of a jerk to his wife, especially in his last will and testament. Meanwhile, 100 miles away from Stratford, on Elizabethan stages, plays were being performed written by someone signing the name William Shakespeare, a writer who often lampooned the monarchy and put his life at risk by doing so. The sort of thing that one may use a pseudonym for, sort of to, protect their identity. Surely you see where I'm going with this. A mistake was made all those years ago, and we attributed those legendary works to the wrong dude. Which begs the question, who really was William Shakespeare? Join me, Stephen Sable, as I invite historians, researchers, lawyers, artists, authors, and more to explore this fascinating mystery of Shakespeare authorship on my podcast called Don't Quill the Messenger. You can hear it now at don'tquillthepodcast.com or wherever you're listening to this podcast right now.
It's Dragon Wagon.